Good afternoon, everybody, from Sunday afternoon in Chiang Mai. Today, I'm going to try to talk a little bit about Saturn and its geometry. I'm not a specialist on geometry, so you will hear that. But it's a really interesting matter or subject, and so you may be inspired to go a bit deeper in that. And if you have more insight for me, please let me know. And the same is about some cycles, geometry formed by cycles, and how that all actually impacts us or why. So, Saturn. When you look at Saturn on pictures, you see these wonderful rings. So, an exact ring does have the 360 degrees, right? So that's what we work with in astrology, right? So, and Saturn on its north node, I remember he got something on his south node as well, but I have to look that up again, I forgot. So, on his north node, there is a shape formed. It looks fantastic on some pictures. I will try to post some on my website so you can see what I'm talking about. I don't know how to put that into the video, but maybe I can at the end. I will see what I get done there. So that shape is a hexagon. That means it's 6 triangles that are aligned next to each other, forming kind of a 6-pointed star, if you want, but more in shape, more like a cube. So I lack the words here in English, so I'm sorry. And this is not the same like a hexagram, which would have 2 intersecting triangles, which form a 6-pointed star, the Star of David, as we know, And so I find this very interesting because I had that thought that when we look at everything that maybe any particles, any form of matter does have a certain shape, and it's always a geometrical shape in some ways, surrounded by a ring. So that means that Saturn actually really does embody the structures. He is structure really by itself, including the ring, the cell membrane, or however you will want to call that. So he embodies that. Further on, cycles. Saturn is part of cycles, as every planet, including the moon, including the earth, including the sun, and every other star, every galaxy, every solar system, everything is in cycles, in an evolutionary process or cycle. So that means we again have the ring form, but overlaying, spiraling. It all goes on and on and on, as we know from the universal laws. But we also know that from the new discoveries in physics, quantum physics. They always use the comparison of the Russian dolls. Yeah, it's one into the other, and so it is with the cycles. It's one within the other. It's always entangled. It's very interesting. So we have there are very huge cycles and probably much larger than that. We just did not discover yet, or we just don't have the technical abilities to calculate them, because we cannot see everywhere yet. So, but I'm sure that if we would look, that as we know already, that our solar system is in a galaxy, and the galaxy is in a group, and in a local group, and then the local group is part of another group, and so it goes on and on and on, right? So we have that in everything. We have that within us as well. Or when we look at this, what is it called, the Fibonacci spirals? Yeah, it's like kind of infinite. Yeah, there is no, when we go into the small one, we discover even smaller ones and smaller ones. Some they even say now, with the new scientific development, that when we look at something, it acts differently than when we don't look at it. Yeah, very interesting thought that we can spin much further into our daily life. Then, just the more I feel, the more I know about these things, and then I look around myself. I see all these things everywhere. It's everywhere. There's nowhere you could not see that. And so that's the same above. There is so much everywhere. Also interesting when we go about cycles. There are shapes formed. If you would draw, when planets make synods with either Earth or with another planet, and you would draw lines, then also with the sun. If you would draw these lines, that forms shapes. Especially Venus. Venus lies in between Earth and the sun. You can see that there very clearly. So it's when Venus forms a synod and you draw the lines, it would look like a 5-pointed star. When she finishes these 5 points, she will then start anew, just exactly about 2 degrees next to where she started the last one, and forms another 5-pointed star, but always in exact geometry. And when she forms a synod, she's same time in retrograde. So that means she makes a loop. She's not going backwards, she's still going forward, but she makes a loop. And for us, from Earth, it looks like she would go backwards, but she just like spins a little bit, makes a turn and comes back. And if you look at that, it is always in the same kind of shape, forming like flowers around the pentagram. So it is very interesting, and I would love to see how that looks like when we would draw such lines and pictures and the retrogrades from all the planets and the asteroids, how they are entangled. I would love to see how that would look like. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have the right equipment nor data to do so, but maybe somebody feels inspired. I would love to see that. So anyway, so because all these cycles, they happen some in shorter periods and some in bigger periods, because some of the planets, they are in let's say they are more entangled than others, especially the outer ones. When you look at their orbits, you can see that they kind of, how to name that, um, they their orbits, they form a shape themselves. There are some they intersect through that. It's kind of interesting to think about that, because they also bring some, how to say, interruptions. So if we look at them, they work together. And so their cycles, some of them, because their orbits are very long around the sun, some of their cycles together take a very long time. That can be X thousand years, that can be X hundred years. And so those we have now that we are talk so much about, they are mostly more short term. That means some are like 3-4 years that we had this year. We have some, they are like 12, 30, 12 and a half years, 34 years, 20 years. So they are comparably short. Yeah. But they are happening within the bigger ones. Again, the Russian dolls. So, and that's why they are so influential. It's more that they call the big ones, they call an era in. And then within the era, we have shorter periods where we have to try to adapt, right? It's kind of like we are we were pregnant this year, and now we are going to birth some of the smaller cycles to transform within the bigger cycles, to adjust within them and adapt to their evolutionary process. And as we are connected, we are as well in such evolutionary processes. But those are processes, they do not happen from one day to the other. They are long-term cycles. As we can see that in history, that there are big happenings, but they are going over time. And even the forming, and we have civilizations coming and going. We know from history there must have been several before our, let's say, modern, newer known times. There were others we don't really know much about yet. But maybe we will. I hope soon. Would be interesting. But it will never be the same. Nothing comes back. We always go forward. And that's how it's meant to be. We're pregnant, we give birth, and then we grow. Never ending. And so there is nothing to fear about. There are no, how to say, kind of fixed dates, or that is the point, and like countdown and things like that. No, it's the birthing and not endings. Okay, so I see you soon again. If you like my channel, please feel free to subscribe and hit that little bell, and check out my website, which I will link below, of course, and I will try to put that picture up of Saturn. Yeah, okay, so see you soon. Bye.